Hey guys, just to follow up to my most recent video covering the whole RoStock situation going on with the revamp. If you haven't seen my first video covering this subject, I would highly recommend you watch it to better understand why I'm making this follow-up. I received some fair criticism from RoStock fans, mainly about what I said about people quote-unquote overreacting about getting their stats, inventory, and game passes wiped. While I feel some of the criticism of George's revamp plan is overblown, I take back what I said about people overreacting. You guys have every right to be pissed about your stats, cars, and game passes being stripped away once the RoStock revamp goes live next month. And why all of a sudden have my thoughts changed a bit? Well, I had a good conversation with longtime RoStock players in a voice chat a few days ago. Those conversations gave me so much insight on how stupid it is for George to essentially reset every stat in the game, which is a huge middle finger to literally anyone who has played RoStock racing for any significant length of time. The main thing you guys are really pissed at is not the content being worked on for the revamp itself, though I'm not a fan of forcing everyone to make schemes using the paint booth, but it's the fact that guys like Killer Joshua, the winningest player in all of RoStock racing with nearly 10,000 wins in the game, will essentially get all his hard work and dedication to the game erased in an instant. He'll probably be reimbursed in some ways, but it doesn't make up for the fact that all their hard work to begin with will be completely undone. Not to mention all the other things you are essentially losing, like all those beautiful paint schemes in RoStock racing. But what about George compensating people for their time and effort in RoStock racing? Shouldn't that solve the issue die-hard RoStockians have of getting their stats quote-unquote wiped? Apparently, players who have items of really high value will not be getting full compensation, as there will be a cap of some sort to help quote-unquote fix the economy. While I am for fixing the economy, I feel like this is again another huge middle finger to longtime fans of RoStock racing who have dozens of rare items with ridiculously high values, including me. There are other measures George and the devs can take to quote-unquote compensate people for their time in current RoStock, but honestly, is all this really necessary? Another thing I want to discuss is how I hyped up the RoStock archive place. While yes, it's better than nothing, the best thing to do to honor classic RoStock is to not wipe the entire game itself from existence. Honestly, in my opinion, falls short of paying homage to all the people who made classic RoStock what it is. There is no mention of any key former developers or owners in the game besides George in the archive place's current state. So what's my solution? Just keep classic RoStock up and have the revamp be its own separate game. You are changing so much of current RoStock to the point where myself, and feels like 99.9% of everyone, can agree that the RoStock revamp should be its own separate game. I feel like George knows people are way too attached to current RoStock to the point where the only way his revamp can be a success to him is to essentially force everyone to play the revamp, in which everyone's original stats and cars get completely wiped. The more I think about it, the more stupid and unnecessary the idea of resetting everyone's stats are. I'm perfectly fine with protecting your game from copyright. I'm not saying copyright isn't an issue, but when the game isn't in immediate danger of being taken down, I honestly see the stat wipe and removal of paint schemes and the removal of cars completely unnecessary. Until I see definitive proof that NASCAR is going after Roblox games for copyright infringement, this whole stat wipe approach does more harm than good in my opinion. Considering most everything from classic RoStock will all be wiped in a month, it really doesn't seem like a bad idea to have revamped RoStock be its own separate game while keeping classic RoStock up. I know I keep repeating myself, but I want to make this very clear to any developers and people heavily involved in RoStock racing's development that going forth with this plan the way it is, with the stat wipe and the removal of content, will likely do irreversible damage. But unfortunately, there is next to no chance anything will change based on George's responses to the community. I really feel like all this outrage could have been prevented if we just improved current RoStock with all the new revamp features. but without removal of people's content. And this copyright-free RoStock revamp can honestly just be kept a secret and be used as a fail-safe in case NASCAR does in fact start going after NASCAR games for copyright abuse, which to my knowledge has never happened before. And even if NASCAR eventually does start cracking down on copyright on Roblox, RoStock Racing, in my opinion, will most certainly not be their #1 target. No offense to George and the RoStock dev team, but I feel like George does not care about his core fans, considering most every hardcore RoStock fan is against the stat wipe in the revamp. But he's still going forth with the revamp, thinking that this will all be for the better, despite literally everyone but his biggest booty lickers being against the stat wipe. And that's what pisses me off. I feel like, once again, RoStock Racing can be improved in revamp without needing a stat wipe, unless NASCAR started going after Roblox games for copyright. I don't need any speculation. I need actual proof that NASCAR is starting to crack down on copyright, because if they're not, this whole thing, in my opinion, is unnecessary. And what if George's arguments against all this is how this would alienate the fan base of the game? George, if you are worried that all this would quote-unquote alienate your fan base, you probably won't have a fan base to begin with if you go forth with this almighty plan of yours. And even if you do manage to bring a bunch of new fans with the revamped RoStock, which in my opinion is very unlikely, you will burn an unfixable bridge with every single longtime fan in RoStock. Losing your entire core fan base will not lead to success going forward. I mean it. It's just a shame, really. RoStock Racing has so much potential to be great. Just listen to what the people want, George, and I won't have to keep making these videos. We have valid concern about your so-called perfect plan for RoStock, but no, you are just so delusional to the point where even if almost every single RoStock Racing community member is against the stat wipe for obvious reasons, you will still choose to release the update that will single-handedly kill the game. George, if you're watching, please know that none of this is personal. I made this video to help spark change for the better for the RoStock Racing community, because I don't believe in pissing away every single longtime fan of the game for your agenda. I know my last video wasn't going as hard on the revamp itself, but to be honest, I was really afraid that video would piss off George so much to the point where he would retaliate against me. It was so hard to make that video basically telling him he is wrong without saying so directly. But I'm being completely unfiltered here and don't care what the consequences of this video may be. But at the end of the day, it's unfortunately painfully obvious that George will go forth with this revamp, regardless of what the people think of it. And to be honest, I feel like over these past few weeks of talking to several key RoStock members, I have grown way too obsessed with this topic. What's the point of making these videos if no change will be brought forth? I feel like there should be a balance struck between getting the revamp out while also not pissing off your entire core fan base. Ever since the original owner of the game convinced me to play RoStock Racing from the very start, I saw the potential the game had, even in its earliest, most bare bones version. I like to think that I played a significant role in getting RoStock to where it is today, and I've grown this weird obsession with it still to this day. Even if I don't play RoStock Racing as much as I used to, I still get a good kick out of it, and was really worried that this revamp George proposed last year would take that all away. Now, as I'm making this video, I've kind of grown to accept all this and just want to see how it all plays out. If RoStock Racing goes up in smoke, that's not my problem. As unfortunate as that may be to some of you guys, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. I just hope that players like me who have poured countless hours into the game get rightfully compensated for their time and dedication in some way with the revamp. Feel free to agree or disagree with my thoughts on this whole RoStock situation in the comment section below. This video will probably be controversial in some ways based on how my last video was received, but I'm all for the debate. I really hope this video sparks change and prevents RoStock from killing itself from the inside. Hey, maybe I'm wrong and all this will work out, but I just want what's best for the game, and again, I'm really skeptical about all this. But again, I feel like you should just make this all its own separate thing if you're going to change so much to the point where the game is basically unrecognizable from classic RoStock Racing. If RoStock Remastered fails, at least we'll still have classic RoStock for us fans to enjoy. And no, I don't think it will get taken down anytime soon unless I see some written proof that NASCAR is in fact starting to go after games on Roblox for copyright. That's all I have to say. This will probably be my last video on this topic, but if you guys want to see more RoStock racing content before the revamp, or more videos like this in general, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
One postscript. Hello everyone, I am Alaska, Bytes editor. Might wanted me to bring up Pumu, I'm probably butchering that, I'm sorry. Pumu Talladega. Pumu Talladega, a well-known Roblox NASCAR game, has measures in place in case of illegal action by NASCAR, such as backup schemes. If you ask Byte, and me for that matter, the revamp should be put on the back burner, just in case legal action by NASCAR does rear its ugly head. Thank you all so much for watching. Byte and I have a lot of really fun upcoming videos planned, so please stay tuned. Thank you.